I don't know. A lot of people can't admit it to themselves.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people cannot admit it to themselves. What makes someone the best real estate agent? Let's talk about in our market, and also let's talk about just overall in the country. What makes someone the best real estate agent? Okay, where am I going to put this? I got to copy something. Just tell me where you want me to put it.
Do it to your staff.
No, but for me,
It's good, important to do.
but for me, what make them, what I feel like what makes sure that that is not numbers at all.
Just ask the questions, that's all.
No, I think that the numbers come from the you know, like no, we're just talking in the background like bad children.
That's why we sit in the back, like high school.
Yeah.
I was always told to go sit in the back.
I was always told to talk too much, you know. It's okay.
Or actually, you know what, I'm going to put mine with Sarah to do.
No, I mean, I don't know, like, I think that's the most interesting thing, is like, what is your measurement of best?
Exactly.
Because, like,
these are very thought-provoking questions that most people don't take the time to think about. And the problem is we get so busy working in the business that we forget to work on our business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember that you are a business owner. And if you're not taking the time to analyze your business and focus on what you need to grow, find the holes in your business and fill them, your business does not improve. So taking some time, maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter, even if it's just once a year, to analyze yourself. These are great questions to think about how to.
When we have our business meeting with you, these are things that you want to cover.
Yes, I want to cover it with this. That
And
absolutely.
it's end of the year, so definitely set up a time to meet with Sarah.
Listen to this. How many people do great agents talk to every day?
What can we do better? Talk to more people.
So, but seriously, pick a number. How many people do you think great agents talk to every day? Wow. Are you saying that? Just making sure. Yeah, because I'm 34 minutes late.
He's emphatic.
How many transactions do great agents do in a year? Oh, so everybody will have a different number here, and that's okay. This one's one of my favorites.
I think 50 plus would be a good number for me.
Okay.
I think as many as you can do where you keep the quality of service high.
I would definitely agree. Can you make your
But there's a
business
number.
scalable?
Right.
Because if your business is scalable, you don't have to worry about numbers, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about this. This one's one of my favorites. What does a great agent's schedule look like every day? What are the must-haves on this schedule? That's probably a follow-up question, but what does a great agent's schedule look like? And we can't answer running around like a chicken with their head chopped off. Because seriously, great agents don't do that. They're very organized with their time.
Yeah,
And
Sarah, you're making me look like I'm a very bad agent.
You know what the good news is, she's listening out
I'm
there to
making
put under how to
it
improve.
I need a lot of improvement.
Back to that one. Wait, so you're making sure it's scheduled.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Also,
Thank you very much. I didn't get your card. I'll take it from the front. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is that his jacket?
That's my jacket.
Oh, okay. So those schedules, guys. Remember, we're supposed to work on a schedule. If we're not working on a schedule, I'm not. I didn't say there. I just said there is no answer, really. So funny. So, what are the must-haves on those schedules? Did you put your most important things in your life? And remember, no amount of success in the world makes up for failure in the home.
Why don't you write that on the board?
I've got it hung in my room. I see it every day.
Oh, that's where I've seen it.
That's where you've seen it.
That's very true.
Of course.
Can't take those years back.
Yes. Can't get those years back. That's right. Yep. And I choose to stay married. No matter I will not say no matter what, cause I don't want him to think he's got free pass totally.
Poor July.
He thought he got
I'm
it.
just gonna be quiet. Good move.
That's
Good
so
husband.
smart. Good move.
That's right.
See, she
She
knows
knows that.
Cassie's like,
Yeah.
Cassie's like, I've learned from an early age, keep your mouth shut, boy. Okay, so what does a great agent do first thing in the morning? First thing in the morning, what should a great agent be doing? Sleeping in bed till 11, 12?
Drink coffee.
Sounds like the life for me. Sleep in bed. I couldn't do it even if I tried. Alright, you ready? What's the next question?
Let's see if I can read. What time does a great agent do right before bed? Is that what it says?
No, I think so, yes, but let's just change it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why it says time.
What does a great agent do before bed?
Look at your vision too.
Brush your teeth.
That's a good answer.
Sorry, Tim. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Tim.
No, that's a good thing, we're happy.
Cause your mind's everywhere else.
Yeah. Okay, ready? You got the next one?
Yep.
So do you have answers for like those that are more like concise, like
Yes.
yes,
Schedule.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
What was number 8?
And Sarah will go through that with y'all,
What was
like,
number
so we
eight?
do
Just gonna read
your
the
business
questions.
planning
Sorry,
for
guys.
next year.
Okay.
So
What was number 8? Sorry.
Oh, I didn't. One.
Number 8 is, what does a great agent do right before bed?
Look at your vision.
Right before bed.
I do that.
That's always smart.
Alright, next.
Everything's gonna be wrong.
Next is, what does a great agent do every day to improve? What does a great agent do every day to improve? What do you do? Alright. People are still writing. Alright guys, next one. What does a great agent do right before an appointment?
Easy sales coming my way.
How are you preparing for an appointment?
Positive.
Sorry, I'm also answering.
What is a grade? Did you report? Was it a listing or an appointment?
Just an appointment.
Just any appointment, yeah. Alright, next one is, how often does a great agent follow up? Before, during, and after a transaction. So before, how would you follow up? How would a great agent follow up? How would a great agent follow up during? How often? So again, the number. Alright, next. How much money does a great agent make? Alright, next one. What does a great agent believe about the people they're working with?
What do you mean? Are you talking about clients or you talking about coworkers?
Clients. About people, yeah. What does a great agent believe about the people they are working with, so your clients? Alright, next one is, what does a great agent believe about the market? What does a great agent believe about the market? Then what we'll do afterwards is for the people who want to share, you know, your answers in front of everyone. That would be great. You know, I mean, you don't have to, but I'd like to see, you know, what some of your answers are. Next question is, what does a great agent believe about themselves? What does a great agent believe about themselves? Alright, next question. What is keeping you from closing 2 more transactions per month? What is keeping you from closing 2 more transactions per month? What is keeping you from closing 2 more transactions per month? Next, what is keeping you from sticking to your schedule? Oh, Sarah's gonna have fun with y'all with your business meeting.
What was the last one?
What is keeping you from sticking to your schedule?
I'm sorry?
What is keeping you
From sticking to your schedule.
Oh, that was my last one.
Yeah, sticking to your schedule. Two more questions and we're done. Alright, what skills are holding you back? What skills are holding you back?
What, scales or skills?
Skills.
And I was like, what
Skills.
skills? I was like, oh my God. Like, what skills are we trying? Got it. What skills? What skills?
Skills. The last one is, what is my number 1 limiting belief? What is my number 1 limiting belief? Limiting belief. Anyone want to share? I'm just curious to see. And then what we'll do is we'll have Tim. What are you talking about today?
Just a little bit about credit scores, the new ones that are coming up.
Okay. If y'all just want to shout out what y'all, I'm gonna go through the question, and then, you know, what makes a great agent?
Good communication.
You have to listen to what your clients want.
Educates.
That's what
Perfect.
educated.
Perfect. What does a great real estate agent do that you don't do?
Better follow-up, like after the transaction, I feel like that's where thank God for Facebook, that helps.
Yeah.
And pick
Like
up the phone.
connecting.
Yeah, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I don't do pop-bys like I should. I do send deliveries and so on and so forth, but that's something that I feel that if I had the time to do that, that would be, I'll get more referrals.
Yep.
And the client things that we do help with that, because it kind of forces us to stop and do it because there's like a deadline.
What makes someone the best real estate agent? What makes someone the best real estate agent?
I think they have a good,
I think they just talked about good communication, picking up the phone,
Mhm.
doing
Usually it's the
pop-bys,
same thing,
all
right?
I think some of the questions are, like the same answer.
And also how many referrals they get. I think that really shows you what you're putting out or what you're getting back.
Right.
I think a great lead generator, great marketer, good relationship builder, good tools, good systems and budgets and staffing in place.
Systems are very, very important. Yeah, because without systems, y'all can't do
Follow-up
it.
skills.
Yeah.
Follow-up
Yeah.
skills.
How many people do great agents talk to every day? Yeah, how many great agents, how many people do great agents talk to every day?
3
Three?
2 to 3 average person a day.
So, is that, because I have a question on that one.
But this is on you though.
This is,
Yeah.
Right, but are we talking directly that's business related or just keeping up interpersonal,
It's both.
both?
Because
Okay.
because it comes from with your SOI, that's where
That's
your
my
referrals
business.
come in.
Right.
24.
24?
Wow.
24.
Yeah,
High
I
fives
did
to you.
20 plus.
You
Wow.
talk to 20 plus people a day.
Even
Eric
I thought
does,
that
yeah.
social.
Wow.
Kind of.
Powerful.
How many transactions do great agents do in a year?
I think close to 50 plus. 50 plus.
Wow.
50 is a good,
Wow.
good number.
I said 40 plus. Yeah.
I mean,
40 plus. That's what I said. Yeah. 15. Yeah, 15 is good.
15, but I'm
15,
very
1, 5.
niche. I'm very, and I know that.
Right.
That's my shtick.
You think
Like,
15
Right.
or 50?
15. I get 50. I get it. It's just not my,
Yeah.
you know.
To me, I mean, yeah, 10, 15 is good, right? What does a great agent do first thing in the morning?
I think you need to do your
Mindset.
affirmations.
Affirmations.
Meditation. Some sort of meditation
Yeah.
also.
Meditation.
Set your mindset.
you said take medication?
I do that at
Meditation.
Yeah, you do that at night.
That's before bed.
4 shots of tequila. They're good.
I just said that. That's what I was saying.
Let me remove this. Hold on a second. What does a great agent do right before bed?
I look at my
Plan.
Finish schedule,
I look
recap,
at my
appreciate,
Vision board,
and be thankful for the day.
Maybe
appreciate,
recap your day.
recap,
recap, nice.
plan.
Nope. Plan, yeah, you definitely want to
Start
plan.
recapping the day, then you might not go to bed.
That would
Yeah.
It starts running in my head.
I need to stop checking email right before bed. That's,
What does a great agent do to improve every day?
I think training is a big aspect. If you're not training, you gotta learn so you can earn. Bottom line, that's all it is.
Yeah, you gotta have the mindset, right? What does a great agent do right before an appointment? What do y'all do?
I
Prepare.
prepare.
You-
Easy sales coming my way. I say it 7 times before every.
Prep and then relax.
You still doing it?
Oh yeah, do it all the time.
How often does a great agent follow up?
With one individual client.
Sorry,
Yeah, how often does a great agent follow up?
Is this
Before.
like a lead you're generating, or is this after closing?
Are you talking? Yeah, exactly. I was confused.
Yeah,
Doing
so-
the transaction.
This would be, I guess, with someone that you're working with.
I do once a week. I do a recap, but usually within a week they call me 15
Yeah.
times anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't. And listing, I try to do a recap on Fridays.
But
Yeah.
going back to Katie, what's the most important? What's your number for after the transaction? How often do you follow up then?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
I do after 1 week. I call and ask if everything is okay, and then sort of tell them if they need help with anything to contact me first, any repairs or so on and so forth. So I can be their go-to person with handymans and hoopers and plumbers and so on and so forth. I I do have, the magazine that I send out to all my clients, that they get every other month, with my picture on it. So hopefully that's somewhere in a toilet and they can take a look at it
That's
while
good.
they're on their toilet.
I have a drip campaign set up, and it does emails, texts, and call reminders, then a market update for their house. And so I do 4 calls in a year. I do 6 texts and then a few emails and then a few a month.
Alright. What does a great agent believe about the people they're working with?
Honesty is the best part.
I think you have to see, consider them individuals and, cause
Yeah.
all of them have different needs, you know, so you can't like put them in one box or one pile, just say, you know, cause they have different personalities.
Because not everyone's different, right?
For
But-
me,
Go ahead.
what I put is just like, we do real estate every day. They don't do real estate every day. So I look at all of my clients as a opportunity to educate them because they don't do that. I'm big into budgeting. Tell your money where to go.
Expand yourself that way somehow, some way. What's your number one limit? Mine is not good enough. That I'm not.
Yeah, that I can't
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's up to the fact, keep transaction, not necessarily to do it, you know, and to hit that 50 benchmark, that might.
Like I said, she's gonna help out. Plan a time to meet with Sarah. Closing more deals next year.
Credit score, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, my score. Obviously, it comes up with us, lenders, because the critical thing there is,
Hold on. Joe actually has to leave.
I just want to say hello to everybody, and I got everybody, thank you, just for Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Joe.
Card to 7-Eleven.
anyway, talking about FICO scores, not gonna get real deep into the weeds, not gonna talk about what makes a FICO score and all that, but you're gonna start hearing, if you haven't heard it already, in the news, it's gonna be predominantly, more exposed probably January that's coming out. Okay, has anybody heard anything changing about credit scores, anything like in the news? I'm not talking about the advertisements for, freecreditscore.com, none of that stuff, right? An actual new score that's being developed, already is developed, they just haven't released it, it's starting in January. The terminology is gonna be called, but wait, it's a good one, these people, Ultra, for Fair Isaac Credit Company, FICO. FICO means Fair Isaac Credit Company. FICO, the Fair Isaac Company out of San Francisco, they're the ones that created the math that does the 3-digit calculations that the credit bureaus all 3 use. So they've come out with a new one, it's called Ultra FICO. Why am I talking about this? Because here's what's gonna, I'm predicting the future here, I'm going out on a limb. We're gonna have clients, I definitely will hear about it for sure, and you probably will as well. When the new model is released, people will be able to access, right, 2 different kind of credit scores. The FICO, which is what the lenders will be using. I'll explain later why we're not gonna use this Ultra FICO, and why the actual Ultra FICO score was actually created. But people will be able to get both those scores, and this Ultra FICO is gonna be higher, all right? So a little quick background about why they actually did this. Right now, I'll give you some stats. This actually, I knew it was high, but I didn't know they were this high. These were actual stats from the credit bureaus. So 58.2% of consumers in 2017 had scores 700, and we're talking FICO here, not the silly non-FICO score, right? FICO scores 700 or higher. So almost 60% cross-section of America has a 700 FICO score. Whether it's their high score, mid score, low score, they didn't define that here. The bottom line is 700. That's getting in the sweet spot. Now, here's the other thing. Now, we don't consider, this is kind of it's an off word. Remember the terminology subprime? Remember that? Subprime, Well, banks right now are considering anybody that has a 670 score or less subprime. Okay? Now, when they're talking about banks in this article here, they're talking about lenders, banks that are predominantly looking at credit cards, car loans, signature, non-collateralized, non-secured loans, right? This new Ultra FICO is, they basically, think of it this way, these banks went to them and go, wait a minute, you know what? We don't want to fight for the 700 and 700 plus borrower for a credit card offer or a car loan, right? They don't make as much money. The profitability of those high-worthy borrowers is thinner, right? Even to mortgage lenders, right? You get the 780, 800 borrower and stuff like that, they can go anywhere, they don't need money. You know what? You're not gonna make as much profit on those people. However, when you get below below that 670 number, and you're a credit card company or a car loan company, right? Those are your target customers. Well, what's happened in the recent past, for the last 2 years, those amount of those borrowers available, because remember now, a lot of people are having their score go up. They've come out with this Ultra FICO to help boost these quote-unquote subprime borrowers, so the pool of clients, potential clients, is larger. All right, so here's how they're doing this. This is absolutely crazy in my mind. You guys tell me what you think. So, like, how are they raising their score? Well, the average, they're saying, under this Ultra FICO, the average quote-unquote subprime borrower, let's just take a hypothetical, somebody's got a 650 middle FICO score now, right? Under this new program, this Ultra FICO scoring model, that their score is going to go up at least 20 to 25 points. So somebody could easily go to 675 on an Ultra FICO. This is insane. Here's how they're doing this. This is just, I actually fell out of my chair when I read this. So what they're going to do now is, people will have to authorize this. So here's where somebody goes, oh, I want to know my Ultra FICO. And when we're talking, I'm a lender, when I'm talking to people, hey, before I pull credit, you know, what's your credit score? Well, you know, my scores, people don't say my FICO scores, rarely do they say that. My score is, you know, 685 last time I checked, something like that. Well, now in the future I'll have to be, well, which one are you looking at? Is it, oh, yeah, I think it was like the Ultra or something. And I'm like, well, that's a problem, okay, and I'm going to address that in a second. Bottom line, here's how they're going to do this. One of the ways, the predominant way they're going to boost people's score, they're going to look, you have to give them access to it. They don't look at your bank statements, but what they're going to do is, as long as the individual has a 90-day average bank deposit of $400 in their bank account over the last 90 days, and there's no return check fees, overdraft charges, right? Those people are going to get the boost. That's one of the ways they're going to do it. They're looking at people that have at least a $400 average bank balance for the last 90 days. And in those accounts, it could be cumulative. It doesn't have to be in one account. But if you say, hey, you know, look at my Bank of America, look at my Capital One account, whatever, and cumulative, you got an average of $400 closing balance every last 90 days, and you got no overdraft fees, right? You're not blowing past, you're living within your budget, whatever obviously that budget would be. But the bottom line is, they're going to use that to run through a different calculation to boost it. In other words, to make the lenders, the banks that want to, say, extend you a, you know, you're a subprime borrower now, that we don't want to throw a offer for a credit card in your mailbox, but now all of a sudden, we can rewrite our own internal rules. I'm thinking like the banks, right? Nothing to do with us, but they say, you know what? Okay, as long as they have a 670, we'll offer them this. So here's the bottom line to take away from this. Lenders right now, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the conventional lenders, HUD through FHA, VA Veterans Administration, they are not going to use this Ultra FICO score. Ain't going to happen. They're not going to use it.
So this is not for,
It's not for mortgage lending.
Mortgage lending, but
That's
maybe the
correct.
car lending or.
Absolutely, it's for consumer credit, credit cards, car loans, whatever, because the bucket of customers
Increased debt.
is
Increased
thin.
debt, that's what it is.
They're trying to raise it up so they can, so basically they're taking really subprime type borrowers. They're saying, you know what, hey, if they got a little bit of money in the bank, and
Because
they're
that's where
not
they make their
overdrafted,
money, yeah.
they can manage their money a little bit, we're gonna give them a boost.
That's horrible.
And they're just adding it. So again, here's what's going to come out. Now it becomes a little more complicated, because when you see freecreditreport.com on TV, those kind of things, hey, just sign up, it's free, whatever. 99% of those offers are not, you're not going to get your FICO score. The reason why that is because FICO, the people that made the score, every time we as lenders or anybody else that says, give me the FICO score from TransUnion or Equifax or TRW, give me the FICO score, they get a little commission, they get a little nut, okay? Freecreditreport.com, they don't do that. The credit bureaus do have their own credit scores, but it's not a FICO score. So when somebody calls me and they're like, hey, my score is such and such, and yeah, I just got my report. Really, what was it? The report, did the report say anything on about FICO? You know, FICO? No, it didn't say. Okay, well, send me a, I don't want my credit pulled. Let me look, oh, fine, I gotta work around that. I'll dance around that. But the point is, lenders are going to, even with this new one coming out, lenders aren't gonna use that. They're absolutely not gonna use it. So we'll just have to be cautious when somebody starts talking about credit scores. That's not to say you guys should get
It's
into the
gonna
weeds
confuse a
about
lot of people.
It really is. It's,
Mhm.
I'm sure there are people going,
No.
wait a minute, I just
I know,
saw my,
right?
they're gonna say my score, right? Cause people, again,
When
I
is this start?
emphasize,
When is this 22?
January kicks off. So I suspect the first quarter next year, there'll be more advertising and whatever,
More
people
confusing
hear
than the
about it.
first quarter next year.
That's right, so people say, hey, my score is 700, but it's the ultra FICO score, and then I go pull their credit report, right, and I'm given a price based on the FICO score. Remember, one of the key four components of quoting an accurate interest rate is the middle, not the high FICO score, not the low FICO score, it's the middle FICO score.
So how do you recommend, I mean, I usually tell when people approach me and say, oh yeah, this is the score I have, and they usually through Credit Karma, and I say, well look, that score is not good until you go to a mortgage lender, and actually they are the ones who do a hard check.
Yeah,
They'll
I would
tell you what the score is.
I would say that. I would just add in, I'd say, what they're gonna look for is your FICO score. You ever heard, 99% of people out there have talked about a credit score, they've heard that. I would say the same thing and say, listen, lenders, and it's by law, I'd love to say it, because that just, that kicks the baby right out of the bathtub. So, I wanna stay in the warm water. No. FICO score. Lenders by law must use the FICO score. They don't use the high, they don't use the low, they use the middle. And that's a dynamic score, it changes. So with that, I just want to say, when it comes out, just to be acknowledged of it, and then say, hey, what about my score? What kind of score do I need to get a mortgage today? You might hear that kind of conversation, right, or question.
A question. The banks, more of the banks, they give you the chance to give you to escrow. You have, you can apply and you send a bank account and they send you to FICO. That FICO they're going to send is going to be FICO regular score?
No, yeah, that's a good question. I bet they'll have to define that, because the lawyers will look at that. So right, that's a great example. So, you open up an account and get your free, they might say get your free credit score. When the document you get the document, it's probably gonna say ultra FICO or FICO, and they'll have like an R, like registered.
So you can
They're
say,
gonna have to
don't go by
define
the
that,
ultra FICO.
because
But normally they give you your FICO.
That's correct.
They're going to
'Cause-
decide what is going, because you say for credit
That's
card
right.
and everything is going to be ultra, but that's not
they're
they're going to use,
correct. Now, how the banks are gonna use that will be a personal decision, a business decision on the bank.
Yeah.
But I suspect once one of the big ones starts using the ultra FICO to send credit card offers or whatever offers, they're gonna everybody will start doing that. But they will have to tell you. I'm sure they're gonna have to, because guess what? Here's the thing. Let's say you go to this big bank. Let's say you go to Bank of America. You're like, oh, and they send you your ultra FICO score, and it's 700. You're like, wow, okay, my ultra FICO middle score is 700. Then you go to Bank of America and you're like, hey, I'm applying for a mortgage, and the loan officer over there at Bank of America says, oh, no, we don't use that. It's not, your score's not 7. Wait a minute, you just sent me my score. It said it's 700. No, your FICO score that was the ultra FICO. Now your real FICO is 25 points below that. It can create some confusion, but
why are they doing that?
well, because they're running out of people to lend money to.
That's sad.
That's the bottom line. The credit, since most people, like I said, 58% of Americans have 700 higher FICO score. So the pool of those, subprime borrowers under 670, probably in the mid sixes, low sixes, 620, 670, they want to have more of those. But until the FICO scores are raised, there's no way they can raise the scores unless they change how they're calculated. How they're calculated now, like I said, one of the examples they're going to use is they're going to look at your bank statement average balances and no overdraft checking. Then they're going to say, oh, these are ultra FICO. Then the bank management can go, well, if they have an ultra FICO score of this, we'll loan them that. They're going to open up they're basically going down the bottom of the barrel and be able to offer more deals. So it's not going to be mortgages, but people are going to probably see and hear or start quoting their ultra FICO. Hey, I got my ultra FICO. If they say that, then I'll know. But I'm just giving you this education level, because when it comes up.
Yeah, so 20, 30
big
years
difference.
from now, they'll have the ultimate FICO.
That's right.
Ultra.
Because it's just gonna get worse.
And just so anybody curious on some stats, about 1.2% of Americans, there's what, 200 million something, I don't know all the adults, but 1.2% of Americans have a score, the perfect score of 850. Only 1.2%. So I'll tell you what, the most I've seen recently this year, I said an average, I've probably seen around the mid-sevens. 750, when I see a 750, a 770, a 780, that doesn't surprise me. When I just saw one, Friday was like 805 mid-score. Not 850, 805. You're 800 or higher, that's amazing. It's usually people with a lot of depth in their credit, they've had 3 mortgages, they got 20 accounts, never missed a beat, nothing. Last thing I'll mention, and then I'll switch gear on something we can do to help borrowers out to get their score up. Here's something that's really important, and I mentioned this before a little while, but I think it's worthy of repeating, and it happened to me personally. The deal was under contract, everything, pre-approved these people, W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, everything like I always do, not a big issue. On the loan application, it has a question on page 3, it says, hey, have you ever had a property foreclosed on? Have you ever had a bankruptcy? Have you ever had a foreclosure? Yes, no. Right? Well, this particular app, I look at that, even though most of mine are done online, I still look at that. Check it, make sure it's complete, right? Missing information will kill a deal, right? So anyway, this situation was they're buying a home in Herndon, had moved down from Maryland. They thought they had sold their home in Maryland.
That's yours.
On the credit report, I see the mortgage. Saw 2 mortgages. One when they bought the house. Hey, when did you buy the house? I said I can look at credit report. It'll tell you when the mortgage was open, when it was closed. I saw 2 mortgages. They refinanced it. But anyway, said that. Yeah, that was the mortgage on the house. Never late payment. Paid off balance 0. Boom, done. You sold your house. I'll look at no foreclosure, no nothing. All the way into underwriting. We're about 2 weeks from closing, 2.5 weeks from closing. Underwriter's going, hey, we got a red flag warning. So we do this report. It's about 15 pages long. This is like the NSA looking at you. And one of the things they look at is all public records. Okay? Remember, on a credit reports also show public records. So if you ever had a bankruptcy, you got a tax lien, it'll show in the public records section. Public records, right, come out of the courthouse in all the United States, not just Virginia if I'm a Virginia buyer. Here's what happened. They actually didn't sell their house. They thought, oh yeah, I sold my house. I'm not going to answer one question. I don't care about that property. I'm moving on, right? Well, guess what? They did. They tried short selling it. Didn't go through. The bank took the house. And I'm thinking, oh man. So this was one of the first episodes, at least in our local area within my company, that we've experienced where they've actually, beginning a year earlier, about a year earlier, so really in about late 16, early 17, the credit bureaus, okay, started purging public records. Tax liens no longer show on a credit report. Foreclosures no longer show on a credit report. But here's what's really interesting. So that's problematic in its own. So now when I'm talking to people, I'm very specific. I'm looking at their credit report. Before I would just look at the credit report and say, okay, that's cool. Now I'm asking people, hey, have you ever had a short sale, bankruptcy, foreclosure, any tax liens or anything like that? Because I know when I'm looking at the credit report, they're gone. The credit bureaus took them off. So people already got a little score bump. So, but it's not always a score. Remember that just because you got a 700, 850 credit score, that doesn't mean you might not have something in your credit history that could stop the deal. So in this case, our safety check, right? Our red flag report came up and said, no, double check this property. The property address on the report was their previous home in Maryland, and guess what? It was foreclosed. So FHA, they're on the ice, talking about follow-up. They're going to be able to buy, the timing, they're going to be able to buy next April or May. But that deal came apart. Wheels fell off. $480,000 purchase right there in Herndon. Upset. Anyway, I was, but I was like, you know what? Goddamn, excuse me. I got to start asking people questions like that. Because now I was like, oh, that's right, they're purging this. So it's the first one I got caught. I didn't ask them, did you have any foreclosure? I just like, hey, right? Just, oh, we sold the home. When somebody says they sold the home, trust me, they knew. Because how do people
they could have
know?
told you it was a short sale or it went to the bank.
Well, when we
Yeah.
started probing it, right? When we started probing it, I'm like, you know if you had a foreclosure. Number one, you know if you started to do a short sale. He might have thought short sale done, walked away, they never bothered him again, the bank. Probably true, okay? But most importantly, you know your mailbox gets full of stuff from the lawyers.
Exactly.
You know you're going to lose your property. So they knew that, so it's kind of, I'm not calling them fraudsters or anything, I care, maybe not the sharpest knife in the drawer, as they say, but here's the other thing that really kind of surprised me. That the creditor, the loan servicer on the mortgage, there was no late payments. Usually if you see 3 times later, I gotta address those, hey, what happened back whenever? Maybe it won't kill the deal, but I gotta find out. But if you've got a foreclosure, guess what you've done? You've stopped making payments on the house, right? So I'm like, why didn't the loan servicer report those late payments? Because if I saw like 6 times 30 on there, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. None of that